Let's take a look now at what's grabbing headlines in the international press with Flo Villamino. Hello,
Catherine.
First of all, a lot of papers focusing on the continued unrest in Ferguson, Missouri.
That's right. It's gotten so bad that the governor, Jay Nixon, had to call in the National Guard on a Monday. Now, you can read about it in the Daily Beast. They say that chaos forced the governor to call in the National Guard. Here comes the real military. But the Daily Beast points out that the National Guard might not be a huge change for locals in Ferguson. The local police has drawn a lot of criticism in recent days and weeks for their handling of the protests. And we saw last week a lot of articles were talking about the militarization of the police. It seemed like all these police officers actually looked like soldiers with their heavily armored vehicles, etc. They looked more like soldiers than small town cops, according to the Daily Beast.
Very much so. You could be forgiven for mixing up the two, couldn't you? Now, it's a conversation that we've been having in the newsroom here this morning. Exactly what the National Guard is and the difference between it and the regular military and the police and all that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Well, there's a very interesting article in the New York Times that clears everything up for you. Now, officially, it dates back to 1903 in its modern form, but the New York Times says that the National Guard has really been around since European settlement. Now, it's called in for emergency situations, and you can see here that actually it has a long history with civil unrest. And to quote the article, it says the use of the National Guard to quell disturbances, especially race-related ones, has a long history in the United States. And that photo there, I think we can see a close-up of that photo. That was taken in Newark, New Jersey in 1967. And the New York Times says that the National Guard really played a key role in the civil rights struggle in the 50s and the 60s. It was actually used to enforce desegregation in a lot of parts of the South. It remains to be seen, though, what changes they'll manage to bring to Ferguson.
And a lot of people have been saying over recent days that this case has a lot of similarities with the case of Trayvon Martin, who was shot dead in Florida.
That's right. Now, Trayvon Martin's mother, Sybrina Fulton, she's written an open letter to Michael Brown's family. It was published in Time magazine yesterday. You can read about it here in Slate today. It's really heartbreaking. Slate says that, she probably knows better than anybody what Michael Brown's family is going through. And I pulled out just one quote. She says, further complicating the pain and loss in this tragedy is the fact that the killer of your son is alive, known, and currently free.
Okay, let's move on to another story getting a lot of attention. This time it's in Ireland. And Flo, a young woman allegedly denied an abortion. A very shocking story.
That's right. Shocking and complicated. Yeah. Let's take a look at one article, first of all, in the Irish Examiner. Now, it points out that the full facts are yet to emerge. But what this article says is that the Director General of the Health Service Executive he's asked for a report, an investigation into the treatment of this teenage asylum seeker who was reportedly refused an abortion despite being reportedly raped and certifiably suicidal. Now, it's a very complicated story with various timings, but I'm sure we'll be saying a lot more about the details in the days to come.
And people have been talking about this, a lot of shock, like I said, also outrage in the Irish press.
Absolutely. I pulled out two articles, first of all, from the Irish Independent. Now, it points out that the spotlight was put on Ireland, first of all, back in 2012. Perhaps you remember that Indian woman was denied an abortion. You can see a photo of her there, even though she was miscarrying, and she later died of septicemia. Now, this led to a new law, the 2013 Abortion Act, and this recent case was a test for that act. And you can see that the Irish Independent says that this law, this 2013 law, obviously needs to be reviewed. Now, the Irish Times is critical of the government for tossing this around like a hot potato. It's interesting to note that the Irish Times was actually the first paper to leak this story, and they actually have an interview with the young woman if you're interested in reading about it. But as I said, in their editorial, they're very critical of the government, and as you can see here, they say that any referendum on abortion, will be a matter for the next government.
And like you said, lots of unknown facts in this case, still waiting for the full details to emerge. Finally then, Germany in the spotlight. Yesterday, Turkey said it had summoned the German ambassador in Ankara following reports of spying.
Spying,
and
that's
the Germans
right.
aren't fans of spying, as
Germans
you know.
are in hot water in a lot of papers. Let's take a look at Der Spiegel. This is the article that caused this recent storm. Basically, it's very embarrassing for Germany. You can see here it says how Germany spies on its friends. Now, This article, well, it reveals that the German Federal Intelligence Service, the BND, was unintentionally eavesdropping on Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State, and John Kerry more recently. And also, according to Der Spiegel, Germany had deliberately been targeting Turkey since 2009 in eavesdropping. Now, remember, Germany has been very critical of the United States for eavesdropping on them. They
very
were
much so.
Very critical, especially of eavesdropping on German Chancellor Angela Merkel. You can see here, this is the editorial in the Wall Street Journal today. It seems like they're almost a little happy about what's happening.
I think they're enjoying this, yeah.
Germany. They say, spies like us. It's essentially a case of the pot calling the kettle black. To quote the article, it says, so Uncle Sam isn't alone, and this is my favorite one. It says, the broader lesson is that loud self-righteousness about espionage is rarely wise policy.
Okay, 1-1 on that scoreline, I think. Thanks very much, Florence Vilmino, looking through the international press there for us. We're going to wrap up this half hour of news for you right now. But do stay tuned to France 24. We've got plenty more coming up just after this break.